Wednesday with Don Anderson here and Leslie Schneider. Say hi, Leslie.
Hello, hello, everyone.
All right. Leslie's catching up on a late snack, but we're all very informal here. I
Yeah.
did put away alcohol, so we're all good.
What? What?
Well, I'm up here in the great Northwest where anything goes, as you know. So
You should be pedaling a unicycle naked. That would be like most appropriate
yeah, that's yeah. So Seattle's
with like
always
a
trying
big
to
cat in the hat
outperform.
hat on or something.
See, in Portland we had the naked bike ride, but in Seattle they had the naked unicycle ride. So
All right, wrong city. Okay.
exactly.
See, I wasn't too far
Yeah.
off.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I thought I'd just start off real quick with some, like, I think, amazing news, and that is that the horrendous and ranked. I know you guys find this hard to believe being in California, but the Oregon governor is actually ranked consistently the worst governor in the United States, and it finally looks like the price is about to be paid because a former NBA player, Chris Dudley, is leading her in the polls by 4 percentage points. This is absolutely huge, and he's running on unabashedly conservative principles. Let's get men out of the women's locker rooms. Let's let
Wow.
the girls have real sports. Let's reduce taxes, right? I mean, like, just basic fundamental stuff, and people are buying in. I'll tell you one other thing with this, and I think I really do believe this. Oregon's always been a left-leaning state, no question about it. But I would never have called the regular Oregonian progressive. They were what you might call the old JFK Democrat, but the party's been taken over by the hardcore progressives, and people here are too nice to do anything about it. So I think it's taken a real smackdown for them to find two things: a smackdown and an alternative. And
Yeah.
now they actually have an alternative, and this is like so exciting. I mean, we haven't had a Republican governor in Oregon since I think '87. I think was the last time.
And
So it's been
is this guy rags to riches story? Is he like the American dream? People can get behind his story, or
yeah.
is
I
he?
don't know much about his personal life. No, he went to school at East Coast. He's like a 7 footer. So he was a center for the Trailblazers back in the let's see, mid '90s, early '90s through the early 2000s, I think. And I was in LA at that time, so I watched him on TV, so I knew who he was, right? But he was a good ball player, and I think he went to a private school out there, something like one of the ones in New Jersey. And for the life of me, I can't remember which one it was, but I think he went
Mm,
to school out there. I don't think
mm,
it was a Yale. Was it Yale? Maybe I can't remember. But his Ivy leaguer came out here, made well, very popular here locally. I've met him a
mm.
couple of times. Actually, he'd never remember, but I met him a couple of times when I had a sports business in the early 2000s. But great guy, super personable, and I could not be happier. The last governor, I can't think of her name, who she made a good run. Republican made a good. She came within like 4 or 5 points, right? So it's not like Republicans haven't been knocking on the door here, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think now we're finally at a point where we can get over the hump and take this thing down. Um,
Wow. Oh my gosh.
so
That would
I
be
just thought that's really. I
woo.
mean, West Coast. This might be the first West Coast state but I don't think Cali's too far behind. I
Wowee.
really don't.
Well, yeah. Okay. So
Well,
we
it
were
helps
sort
when
of
you can
talking
get
about
the
that.
voter roll. Mhm.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, yeah. Well, but yeah, Newsom. I don't know if you heard this out there, but Newsom was at a press conference, not a press conference, but I guess it was a press conference recently, and he was asked by a reporter about, oh, what's going to happen if you've got two strong Republican candidates, and what do you think that's going to look like? If it gets to the end,
Mhm.
and the Republicans are pulling out front. And of course, he was very, he's always very, condescending about, like, oh, well, uh, we've got a plan for that.
Mhm.
And he said, that, well, first of all, he doesn't think it's going to happen because, anybody with a brain, wouldn't vote for a Republican. Um, but, if it did, they have a break the glass scenario in place.
Mhm.
And, there are people who know what to do, and it's just been buzzing around because everybody's like, well, what are you talking about? Like, what do you do when,
Right. Mhm.
I mean, as corrupt as the voter rolls are,
Mhm.
if you can get an R in the top, in the top two, if you
Mhm.
can get two R's in the top two, I mean, glory be. What, like, what, what's your scenario, Newsom? So I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, maybe they're going to run that or try to run that scenario first in Oregon. Maybe we should be watching what's going on up there just to
Yeah.
see.
Well, I tell you, it's I think one of the things here, I think it was a number of months ago, I saw some data. It was 800,000 voters, that were registered that weren't supposed to be registered in Oregon. Now, remember, this is a state that only has about 6 million people. So you're talking like 15% of these. It's like unbelievable. This is what happens when you have mail-in ballots and all this other chicanery, right?
What
Um,
what do you mean, Don? Explain that. You said there were
so,
15%
so
who were
So like
not.
800,000 registered voters that weren't registered voters. I mean, they weren't here. 800,000 names
Oh, that don't reside
that don't
in.
reside, don't exist here. And that was all cleaned up. So you got that kind of stuff going on. I mean, if you eliminate the cheating, I mean, even just that part, and I
Yeah.
think there's going to be a huge reduction because now there's eyes on it. Number one, and then number two, you look at the what's happened with the illegal population, and I don't know what you're seeing down there, but literally the roads don't have traffic on them anymore. It's incredible. I mean, up here. So the I-5 bridge crosses from Washington to Oregon. So it goes into Vancouver. And it's just this bridge is built in the 40s. So it's old. And it's the only toll bridge on an interstate in the United States, right? It's crazy. And rush hour, that thing used to crawl, right? So sitting at a restaurant with my cousin, this is like on a Monday morning. Monday morning, you don't want to go near this thing. And the
Hmm.
traffic's just clicking along at 45, 50 miles an hour, right? And I mean, I pointed out to look at that. I'm telling you, that never happens. You
Yeah.
know, I've been watching this bridge since 1970, and it's never been like that. The traffic is down so much, and I've driven through the entire city 5 or 6 times in the last 5 or 6 months. And my wife and I, every time we remark, I can't believe it. Um, when you remove, it is not just people working from home. Well, I think a couple of things. You run so much business out of the state. That's one thing. But I think the majority of it is illegals. I mean, they're like just gone. If you figure whatever that percentage of the population might be, what do they estimate in the country? 15 million came in the last 4 years, and they probably came into more areas more than others. But if you just did the math on that, let's say if you took 10 or 15% of the cars off the roads, what does that look like?
Hmm.
Um, we,
Well,
don't, we no longer have an infrastructure problem here. We don't have a traffic problem because we don't have the people.
wow. So have you been tracking? I know we talked about it briefly, but the how ICE is taking illegals to court, finding them.
Yes, I just saw an article on that. Right.
Yeah, there was an interview I saw a couple weeks ago, and I didn't really give it a lot of attention, but they
Mhm,
were interviewing a woman who's a house, cleaner, and
mhm,
she had gotten some giant fine, out of the blue,
mhm,
and had no idea that she had been asked to leave. Like, she has kids. She said
mhm.
she has kids that have gone. I think for some reason I was led to believe that they had gone to college and that they're out, as
Mhm,
productive citizens, and so, she had the anchor babies, right? So
mhm,
that's, but
mhm,
it's like, okay, so did they ever get financial aid? Like, did they get any sort of benefit from, from being here? Like,
mhm,
I, I don't know. So see, people have been, caught unawares, and
mhm,
they're looking at, um, I guess they've issued over $36 billion in civil fines. 65,000
mhm.
people have been fined, and it's totaling 36 billion. And this has just started, what, 16 months ago, 15, 16 months ago. I think they said January of 2025.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I try to find the nicest. It's not that I have empathy or sympathy, but that's used against us. At some point, you as an American citizen have to be willing to say you broke the law and you have to pay the price for that. You knew you broke the law. You were here, you raised your kids and all, that's fine, but you have to know that you have to be looking over your shoulder the whole time because you broke the law. That's like if I'm a criminal and I get out of jail, I'm out of jail, but I gotta look over my shoulder the rest of my life because they might catch me. And
Right.
you just got caught.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, you have to, I do have compassion for people who, when I was growing up, I don't know how it was with you, but like when I was growing up, you know, there was generally a lot of real, I'm going to say empathy, maybe sympathy for illegals because like they still do. They do take their life into their hands when they cross the border and it's treacherous. And they are leaving terrible places. I mean, nobody wants to live there, which is why they're all leaving. And except for the really wealthy people or the well-connected politically people or people in law enforcement or getting kickbacks, people leave those countries. And
Mhm.
so, I think to myself, well, gosh, if as a mom, would I do what I needed to do in order to find a better future for my kids? And I say yes. But at the same time, maybe that time has come to an end.
Sure. Well,
Like,
yeah, we'd all say that same thing. If I was them, I'd be doing the same thing. Well, I try to come in the legal way first, but yeah, if I'm desperate enough, I'm doing that. But that's not how you can't run a country like that. You
no,
can't think
no.
that way. I mean, the reality is this: their best and most productive citizens are the ones who would do that. If they didn't have, and they're using us. I'm talking about the government down there is using us as a release valve. If
Yeah,
those people couldn't come here, they would stay there and be more active to fix their own country, which
right.
is ultimately what has to happen. So what happens right now is we basically subsidize Mexico staying just like it is by letting their best and brightest like come here. That ain't gonna work. Not to mention the fact that it's burning our own house down.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and one of the things that I love that Trump did is he started taxing the money that they're sending back home, right? I love that. But how about we just say you can't send money back home? How about that?
right? Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. Just tax all of it. In effect, it's human beings respond to incentives. And it's much better to incentivize people to go back than it is to frog march them back and catch them and round them all up. It's much easier to make the incentive, make it so that it's just not comfortable to be here. Take
Yeah,
away all the goodies, take away all the benefits, reduce the ability to send money back, and then you have to go home. We can't afford it. It's basically as simple as that. And the analogy I like to use is, let's say you had a sibling who was constantly in trouble, constantly in drugs. You're doing everything you can to help them. You got a house full of kids yourself. You invite this person to come to your house. You can help them out, but they keep doing drugs. In your house, they're watching porn. They're looking for a job. How long can you do that before it infects the rest of your household? Well, that's in effect what we're doing here, and it's hard to throw your brother out, right? But at some point, you have to do that in the best interest of your family.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think about, what it would be like if all the illegals went back to their countries and they took that entrepreneurial spirit that our politicians and
Mhm.
the progressive liberals tell them that they're just trying to make a better life. They're come here and they're starting a little business and they're okay. Great, then take all that energy, take all that entrepreneurial spirit, and go back to Mexico.
Yeah.
Go back to wherever. I mean, obviously you can't send them back to Afghanistan or somewhere terrible, like Sharia law, country. But I don't know. I
Uh,
mean,
Actually, you can, and you should, because here's the thing: you feel less bad about it if they were to come here and then attempt to assimilate. But we increasingly have people who come here and they don't want to assimilate.
yeah,
50, 60 years ago, people came here and hey, American dream, I'm all about that. Apple pie and Chevrolet and
yeah,
baseball, and they were in it to win it.
yeah,
Now they come here and you're running around in our country, flying your flag. I
right.
remember being in LA and constantly amazed by how people were tolerating that. So there's a big soccer game and there's all these Mexican flags flying. They're all cheering for it. Well, really, you should be back in Mexico then. I mean, it's are they is their ultimate allegiance to this country? If
Right.
it
Well,
comes
I
down
mean,
to it, yeah. Go ahead.
sorry. I was going to say we have a congressperson who was
Mhm.
wearing an Israeli military uniform on the congressional floor. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
care what country you come from. Like your allegiance needs to be here. I
right,
don't care where you come from. That
right,
doesn't define you. But be American once you get here. Learn the
right,
language, learn the customs,
right.
participate in a productive way, follow the laws.
And see, and this goes back to here's one of the other. We let the left take over the language, and none of us ever push back. And I'll give you a classic example of that. Is the word what do they call us? Multicultural. Now, I never thought about that word very much. Then about I don't know, it was about 10 years ago. I started on the side of a school up in Seattle, South Seattle, and it was how proud the school was to have multicultural. And then I began to think about that. What just does multicultural mean? And when you step back and realize it, there's never been a multicultural society that's been successful in
Yeah.
the history of man. You know what the first multicultural experiment was? It was called the Tower of Babel.
Oh,
That was multicultural. It does not work. The Ottoman Empire fell apart because it does not work. One of the reasons the European Union is not going to work is because it's multicultural. One of
yeah.
the things the left has always loved to do is beat us conservatives up the side of the head, or Americans up the side of the head, because we only speak one language and they're so much more sophisticated. Well, you know what? Guess what? They've had 80 wars in like a
Yeah.
50-year period
Right. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're so sophisticated. So
Yeah.
we who are not sophisticated have to bail them out every 40 years and pay billions of dollars for a Marshall Plan to keep them from throttling each other, right?
Yeah.
You want monocultural, right? One culture is called Judeo-Christian culture, by the way, monoculture. Every place that's multicultural falls apart. And this is an argument that more conservatives, more people like us, we need to make. We don't want multiculturalism. Now, that's not to be confused with multiracialism, though. So here's people mess up. You can be multiracial, but you have to be monocultural, right? See, race you can't change, right? You know that is your that's your defined. That's you can't change that.
Yeah.
But your
Your
belief
DNA.
system, yeah, this country has worked because it's multiracial and monocultural. Whenever it's multicultural, it comes to an end. It's a distinction, but it's a hugely important distinction. That's
Yeah.
why you want one common language.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I often get frustrated because people will talk about how, like you said, that there's this intrinsic value in being multicultural and having a room full of different colored, rainbow people,
Mhm,
people of all shades of the rainbow,
mhm,
and that, like you said, it makes us so sophisticated, it makes us so
mhm,
tolerant, and you know they get away with that because there is some truth in being exposed to other countries, being exposed to other cultures and societies
mhm,
helps you to be more broad minded. It
mhm,
doesn't mean that all those are good ideas.
mhm.
It's like that's why you have a menu with a bunch of different, items on it, because sometimes you want, enchiladas, and sometimes you want tacos, and sometimes you want, kung pao chicken, and sometimes you want Mongolian beef, whatever. Like that's all fine. But, you just having it to have it,
Mhm.
and saying that it's better because you have it is not sincere.
Well, see, yeah,
And
and no one ever challenges that stuff. People just say it, and it never gets challenged. And
yeah,
I think we have to challenge that kind of stuff. I
yeah,
mean, for example, and the question I ask is, well, what have been the most successful societies in human history? What are they right now? And well, this is what they look like. They're all Western, and it's blatantly obvious. No one wants to say it, But then you have to ask, well, why are they more successful? Well, they're more successful because there's a social culture that puts you up for being more successful. Democracy works better when it's combined with Judeo-Christianity. It cannot work with certain religions and cultures, or it
right,
cannot work at all with some of them,
yeah,
and with some of them, it just doesn't work as well because of the culture.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
and these things people are either they're ignorant of or they're afraid to say them. Um, but it's very obvious.
I think it's a lot of ignorance, Don.
Mhm,
I mean, look at what they're not teaching things in school that really matter. They're not
mhm,
teaching truth in school. And so I think that people just don't know. And the people that do know, they have an agenda. They've got a business that they want taxpayer dollars, to invest in over
mhm,
here, or they want to open up a homeless shelter, or they want to open up some sort of
yeah,
something that is personally beneficial. They're going to, try to pander to the so and so vote. There's always an angle there.
yeah.
um
Well, I
But
tell you, I think too I was watching a podcast. It was last night, and it was about now we're talking young, like I guess they call them millennials. These are people born in like say 1990 ish,
yeah,
right? So maybe
millennials.
they're late 30s, approaching 40, and they were talking about how ignorant they were of history. So all that's been they haven't been taught any of this stuff. So they know Hitler. They basically know the word Hitler, but they don't know anything about Stalin, Chairman Mao, gosh,
Pol
what's
Pot.
Pol Pot. They don't know any of that stuff. And they don't know any of the things that happened with communism, going back to
Yeah,
Stalin and Lenin. They
yeah,
don't know about the Holodomor. They don't know about the Ukrainian starvation. They know none of that. And it's just stunning how the educational system has, it depends on how you look at it, failed in its duty or on purpose avoided this duty of telling people how horrible that system was. Because a lot of people wanted communism. They wanted to be successful, and so they don't tell about its failures. And I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember going back when all we heard about in the 70s and 60s and 70s how the Soviet Union is going to overtake the United States. Oh, their system's better. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And then it collapsed. And you know what happened when it collapsed? Then they switched to Japan. Oh, Japan's number one. Japan's going to overtake us. Japan's going to crush us. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Japan's system's better. And then when Japan, started falling in the cracks. Oh, China. Oh, China's better. They got better. It's like they hate the United States. That's the one thing you can, and that's been in this. That's been in the soup as long as
yeah,
I've been alive.
yeah,
As long as I'm alive.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but we were talking a little bit before this about the EU and what they're finally waking up and trying to do something about,
Mhm,
their migrant problem. Um,
mhm,
and so it looks like in June they've gotten all their agreements, all there's been several votes. Um, but the most recent vote, it was a landslide affirming that
mhm,
they were going to start um, taking action to actually get rid of these. So every year, they have migrants that come in, and from there's 27 countries in the EU, and they have migrants
mhm,
coming in, crossing these borders, and then putting in asylum applications or whatever applications
mhm,
um, they're putting in, and around 700,000 of those folks are denied
mhm,
every single year. But because there's nothing, um, because of there's a lot of resistance
mhm,
um, politically, and a lot of these countries where these people are coming from aren't open to receiving their people back. Only
mhm,
20 to 30% of those 700,000 people are actually rounded up and sent back.
mhm,
So there's some real issues going on. You've got countries who simply won't take these people back, and they won't do it because, one, their own citizens don't want these people back.
mhm,
Two, they get so much money sent to them, like we struggle with this with, we've got immigrants, illegals who come here, make a bunch of money, certainly as compared to their own, country, and then they send all that money back.
mhm,
Well, those governments don't want to wipe away those dollars. So then you've also got the problem of people will destroy all of their own documents. So they're on the boat, or they're however they're getting here,
mhm,
and they'll tear up their passports, their birth certificates, anything official. And the rules are that if there's no biometric or like actual documentation that ties somebody to a land of origin, there's no requirement that that country take that person back.
mhm,
So um in order to kind of deal with all of this, the EU is proposing these basically detention centers that are going to house these people. I think they said for up to 5 years. That's what they're saying now. And they're
right,
going to contract with non-EU countries to do it, like Kenya and Tunisia,
yeah,
right? They're going to contract with these countries that people don't really want to go to anyway, but they're having discussions. Nobody's signed on the dotted line yet, right? But starting in, well, and then once you sign on the dotted line, then you have to start building this infrastructure, right? Because and then somebody's got to pay for it all, which of course is going to be the EU. I guess they think it's going to be cheaper.
Mhm.
But the truth is, these people are going to end up, we've seen this before.
Mhm.
They stay there forever.
Well,
There's nowhere to go.
well, the ruling elite, the people at the top of the food chain in Europe, and we have them here too, that's their objective, is to basically create a situation where these countries cannot be independent. The last thing they want is for countries to be they want interdependency, because then a country can't act independently and remain a sovereign state. So you look at like what Hungary did, for example. Hungary built like a massive fence all around the place, right? They're not letting anybody in, and
Hmm.
their crime is like next to nothing because of it. And the ones that have like left them wide open, I think like Sweden, for example, its crime is like through the roof.
Yeah.
Um, and these are some of the reasons why I think the EU will fall apart. It cannot last. It's not like the United States. So you have the United States of America, the United States of Europe, in effect. But the United States of America is one culture.
Yeah.
You travel between the states, and
Technically.
there's no
Yeah.
problem. You can speak the same language. The laws are relatively the same.
Yeah.
We also have the benefit of having two oceans to keep us away from Europe, and all the insanity that happens over there, whereas they don't have oceans separating them. But it's no excuse for them to allow their country to be overrun in this fashion. And the regular citizens are against it. You've seen the protests in London going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, and in Ireland.
yeah, and their prime minister is out there calling these people names. So the people who are flying the flag of Great Britain are getting called names for flying the Union Jack. That's how low these people are.
They're probably racist. They're being
Oh
called
yeah,
racist,
they're
probably.
racists and all kinds of things. And
Yeah.
all they want to do is be able to have their daughters walk to the park without having 15 people from out of the country come and rape them, which happens all the time.
Oh my gosh, Don. I have purposefully stayed away from this topic. I was gonna actually write it down for us to talk about tonight, like as a
Mhm.
reminder. You just brought it up. I've stayed. Did you ever watch Laura Logan?
No, I don't remember that name.
Okay, she's amazing.
I'll write her
She
down.
yeah, Logan. She is English, and no, sorry, it's not Laura Logan. It's I can't remember her name. Anyway, she's also amazing. But she's a journalist, and she's English, and she spent a huge amount of time digging into the whole Muslim infiltration, basically
Right.
takeover that's going on in England.
Mhm.
She has this really funny Instagram channel that she calls Batshit Crazy UK, I think. And she'll like every day she's like, "Hi from Batshit Crazy UK." She talks about all the different funny things, but in one of her serious posts, she was saying how she had spent a lot of time actually visiting mosques. Clearly, like she must have covered herself up, and
Uh-huh.
and interviewing families, learning about the this rape culture that the Muslims have against white women, and
Mhm.
how they will target young white women, and they will kidnap them, I guess, and then they'll trade them all up and down the country, all up and down.
Yeah.
And so they'll spend years and years and years being, trafficked. And she said that, and she's spoken to the, firsthand to the victims and the families. And so this is all well documented. It's real. It's not exaggerated. She said
Mhm.
she went into a mosque and listened to, who are the guys who are the leaders of the mosque? Who
Imams, what they're called?
imams, I guess. Yeah, I was like, it's not who is the priest?
Yeah.
And they're delivering their message. She said that she went into one where this guy pulled out a lollipop, and he took the plastic wrapper off the lollipop, and it was filthy. It was like had dust on it and hair on it and bugs on it. And he said, this lollipop, this is a white woman, and all of this filth, this is what a white woman attracts. And so you should treat her like the filth that she is. This is what the imam was saying to
Yeah.
his flock.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I'm afraid to go to learn more about it, but you know, it's like I used to love to travel to Europe. I haven't been to Europe in, gosh, 7 years because I don't want to be heartbroken
Yeah.
on what I see. You know, we'll go back to Paris, and I've never been to England. You know, go to like all of these places that Germany. I mean, I lived in Germany for some time, and I just think I don't I
My
don't want to
under,
see it like that.
yeah, my understanding is that the small rural areas are still good to go, but the major cities have been like are utterly being destroyed. I'll tell you, if you ever get a chance, there's a book. It's called The Battle of Lepanto. Let's see, it's like Lepanto, Battle for the Sin of the Earth. My wife gave it to me for Christmas one year, and I knew nothing about Lepanto. This is probably 10 years ago, and it is absolutely fascinating. So that was the big naval battle that occurred in Lepanto in 1471, I think, that put a stop to Muslim migration into Europe.
No.
Probably one of the most important wars in history. And but when you read the book, he gets into the details of the things we were just describing. He gets into the details of what would happen when these pirates would come on the European shores and the things that they would do. It's wired into the culture, and nothing's changed in 500 years. Um, it's just been on the other side of the Mediterranean.
Yeah. Well, I mean the religion is it, you know, people who talk about it being a religion of peace, they just haven't read far enough.
No,
You know?
it's a religion of conquest, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah,
which
it
is
is.
why it can't work with democracy.
No, but it follows Muhammad's life and his own personal journey, and that was right. It was a journey of, you know, being this poor, uh, poor kid, you know, who, you know, receives the vision right from Allah and has to save humanity, and so, you know, writes all the books that, you know, supposedly, um, you know, Allah, you know, the inspiration and the truth that Allah gave to him. He ends up marrying a wealthy woman
Mhm.
who, you know, turns him into a wealthy merchant. And as his life progresses and as he starts getting more and more powerful, the religion becomes more and more powerful and ruthless.
Yeah.
And so like there's just nothing godly about that religion. And you know, the writings are that, you know, the later writings contradict the earlier writings, so it's like a progressive religion, you know, and
Yeah.
all of those peaceful messages are from the beginning, which have all been overwritten and superseded by the later writings and the later teachings. So
Well, kill the infidel. I mean, that's, I think when it comes to assessing these kinds of things, and this goes with any religion, I think, look at the life of the founder.
right.
So, because the founder, because a lot of people will say, oh, or this Christian, or oh, that guy, and this was a bad guy, and they called himself a Christian or whatever. But yeah, no, you can't look at the people who call themselves a certain religion, because people are flawed. So, what was the founder? How did if people behaved according to the principles and walked them like perfectly, what would that look like?
Yeah.
And that gives you a conception of what the probability is that this religion is going to be something that's workable,
Yeah.
right? And and it kind of speaks for itself. I mean, there's no other religions in the world that are like doing these things. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so it's just not compatible, is the thing. And it's funny. Me and my son have had these debates of late. You heard that term. What do you call it? Christian. What do they call that? Nationalism, right? Is
Yeah.
one of
Christian. Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, somebody called you a Christian nationalist. He said, yep, guilty as charged.
I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because we have a set of principles that we know works better here. And people try to make the argument that the founding documents, that the founders weren't Christian, or the founders weren't at a minimum believers in God. Not that they were all Christians, right? And it's like, how do you make that argument? The Declaration itself talks about God several times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
clearly, they do have a Western concept of, and they pretty much agreed that this system will not work without it. Um, and
Yeah.
and we kind of see this. You look around the country. What are the parts of the country that are falling apart the most? Where they're the blue places. And what are
Yeah.
the blue places? What do the blue places have in common? They have the least amount of religiosity. It's just one of these things that's kind of self-evident. I read a little bit of Nietzsche once upon a time. And I used to read all kinds of crazy stuff when I was a teenager, right? I had the time. I actually read Mein Kampf, right? You're going to talk about Hitler, you should at least know what he wrote, right? You
I
talk
agree,
about,
100%,
yeah,
100%.
you talk about painful. I want to poke both eyes out. But the whole thing with Nietzsche was, and he made the prediction in like the 1800s. He said, "There's no God. There's something like God is dead and I've killed him." That was his famous saying. And then he followed that with, "And the next century will be the bloodiest century in human history because of it." And dude called it because it's logical. If I don't think there's anybody watching me, and I think there's no final judgment, then why shouldn't it? Then might makes right. Why
Yeah,
shouldn't I do whatever I want to do?
right,
The
right.
only, the only rate limiter to that then is whether I'll get caught or not.
Yeah,
And most of the time you will not be caught for pretty much most of the crimes you might do.
yeah, it's true.
And we don't have enough policemen for that. So if I
Mhm.
want to go to the store down here and steal something, as terrible as a thief as I probably am, I can probably get away with it. Guilt written all the word
I
guilt is
know.
on my forehead, right? They would
I'm
catch me
so
so fast.
I'm the same way. I can't do any of that. I can like I can't lie. I can't do, it's just like
Well, I got to tell you all a quick story that make you laugh about this. So, my mom died a couple of months ago, but one of my favorite stories when I think about my mother was how she got the moral code across. Now, a lot of times it was with the belt, the switch, the Hot Wheel track, whatever she get her hands on, right? Because us kids were always in trouble. But this was one of the most cold-blooded things she ever did. So there was this Goodwill about 3 blocks away. This is a great story. I must have been 8 years old, and she would push the stroller with my sisters, and I walked, and we'd go up to the Goodwill store. She'd look around. And I saw a yo-yo. Put it in my pocket. I'm gonna take this yo-yo. So I took it. Cool yo-yo. Got home. And I was dumb enough to be in the basement, like playing with the yo-yo. And she said, "So where'd you get that?" Now, there were two things in my family that you did not do. One was lie, and one was steal. Now, I wasn't going to compound the stealing with lying,
stealing with the lie.
because that would just be death. So I went ahead and fessed up. And then, expecting to get the Hot Wheel track, the belt, the switch, the usual thing, this is even more cold blooded. She said, "Okay, all right, tell you what, you take that, yo-yo back at the Goodwill. You walk up there right now. You tell that man you stole it and you apologize." Ooh, don't you know it's been 60 years ago, and I think I counted about 500 cracks in the sidewalk. It was the longest walk in history.
Yeah.
That man, that yo-yo, and he looked at me, and he knew what the deal was, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
He said,
yeah.
"I'm sorry, Mr. Such and Such." He said, "Boy, he said, that's all right. You tell Miss Anderson that, that you're all right." I'd have rather been beaten.
Was
Ever
he a
since
white guy? Was he a white guy?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why he went easy on you because we are terrible. We do not parent the same way.
It's funny you say that because the store at the other end, that store has some white guys ran that store. There was one down the street, the other end. Her name was Sam. The name of the store was Sam and Ollie. I'll never forget. Ollie was the husband. He died before I don't remember him. So Sam was still around, older lady, and she'd catch kids stealing, boy. And Sam was barely old enough to see over the counter. She was the mouth of the South. Those are great memories. No, you don't want to steal from Sam.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That would have been really the punishment from your mom.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You were getting it both ways. Because, heck, Sam might beat you first, then call your mother.
That's right. Give me that Hot Wheels track.
Your mother would say, "Can I borrow that track?"
or here, take the yo-yo and the Hot Wheels track, and you march up to.
You get both.
Oh my
You
my
tell
my!
people these stories and they can't believe it. "Oh my goodness, you got a spanking?" Actually, I never got a spanking. I got a whooping.
I tried to spank my kids, and I mean, I tried really hard on several occasions. And I would have to. My daughter would always. I mean, she it didn't take much for her to figure out like she didn't want to be part of this program anymore, and so she would, do what I told her to do. My son, um, as he got older, like I had to hit him harder and harder, right, in order for him to really feel it, right. And I
Right.
was also kind of that parenting mindset where, I mean, I'm 5'4", okay, so like everyone in my whole family and like the whole town is taller than me, right.
Mhm.
But and so I felt like my kids needed to think that I was just a little crazy,
Yeah.
like I'm just not sure that she won't fill in the blank, right? So sometimes when I would like spank my son, I'd be like, I'm getting into it, because I just thought, like, if I could roll my eyes or something, like maybe that would work too, but I couldn't. So, I just wanted, they have to be afraid. They have to be a little afraid.
Well, and here's the thing, when by the time boys get about 14, there ain't a whole lot mom could do with that. I mean, in most cases, because I was like, I was already 175 pounds or something, right? But if you do this right, generally, by the time they're 10 or 12, you don't have to do it anymore. I mean, that's the whole point. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
but you need both parents and
right.
both, that's hard these days. It's
Yeah.
hard to get everybody on the same page. And it's not just inside your house, but it's all the
Mhm.
neighbors. It's their friends at
Sure.
school, everybody's got, these different crazy rules
Yeah.
and privileges and stuff. And so it's just, yeah, it's just not the same. But
And it's funny you say that because that goes back to the monocultural thing again. Like the neighborhood I grew up in, it was a monocultural neighborhood, meaning everybody had the same rules, right? So if you cut up and the neighbor across the street's mom saw you cutting up, well, she was perfectly legit to give you the spanking and then tell your mother who would give you another one, right? Because we were all operating on the same,
yeah,
principle.
yeah,
Everybody had a mom and a dad, and
yeah,
the last thing you wanted was for dad to find out. So it'd be great, mom, just go ahead and beat me now so dad
yeah.
can call. We don't want him in this at all.
Uh-huh.
No, just have it, mom.
Let's just handle it. Let's handle it, mom. Yeah.
Right, let's just get over with.
Just get
I
all the moms in on it, okay? Anything but dad.
Yeah, I remember one time, I don't know what I did, but she said, "Oh, dad's you're gonna get it for dad when he gets home." So I went in the basement, put on like 2 pair of pants, couple pair of extra underwear. My dad came home and took one look, started laughing. That was
Uh-huh.
these stories are awesome.
Yeah. Oh, brother. Oh, brother.
So
Well,
Lori here, I see her to comment. You're only one spanking from your grandpa. So dad had to come and take and finish the job. No, my grandparents never. They were all about the treats and sweets.
mm,
They were like, nope, we don't have to do that anymore. That's funny. But my grandmother was great though, man. She just look at you, right? And like, would you do that at home?
mm,
This is like the most crushing, guilty thing ever, right?
mhm.
The look was all it took from them.
Yeah. Well, I hope, I mean, I know that there's a lot of sort of despair about the current generation and, their lack of work ethic and everybody's got feelings now that, you have to be careful of. And um I'm also, also seeing that like the church pews are
Oh,
more crowded. And, this whole, trending trad, traditional wife
yeah.
role and all this stuff. People are, they're going after guys with beards and, and like the trades are back in style, right? So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that our society is swinging back the other way and that, discipline will be, cool again.
Well, I gotta tell you, and again, I tend to be an optimist. You know this about me by now. But I see all kinds of reasons for optimism. Not only that, young people, like you said, the pews is young people are going back to the church, which is like an awesome thing. But the other thing is, so my workout routine is on the bicycle. On the bicycle, you see a lot of people. You see people on the ground, and you're just going everywhere, right? I can never get over what a kind country the United States is. The people are just amazing. People are constantly waving me forward and giving me hand signals. Good job. I talked to you at the top of the hill. They wind the window down. How you doing, man? I mean, it's like it's all day. I went on a ride this morning, and it's like a 25-mile ride, and there's no fewer than 4 or 5 people, where it's just like you waved, how you doing? I mean, it's like amazing. People wave you through the stop sign. Nope, your turn. Nope, my turn. I mean, it's like this has been my experience. And the thing is, when I was really training back when I lived in San Diego, so you know about the history of Fallbrook, right? So you don't know about Metzger?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So so Metzger, for those of you who are listening, I can't remember what organization he represented, but it was a huge arm of like the KKK. And in fact, the organization that got in all this trouble, the Southern Poverty Leadership thing, they took down Metzger in the mid 80s. It was while I was living there, and lawsuit, Supreme Court, and completely destroyed them financially, and they went away. But the reason I'm telling you this story is I would ride bike through his town, Fallbrook, right? And people were wonderful. I would go to like Montana. Now, if you're black here, my generation, your whole thing is old rural areas. Those cowboys, as soon as you hear yeehaw, you're dead meat, right? You see a Confederate flag, you're supposed to be dead meat. I've been bike riding in Montana, Idaho, Northern California, Southern Oregon, which, by the way, was one of the worst places in the country. I don't know, people don't realize this, but Southern Oregon was it was illegal in Oregon. It was illegal to be black in Oregon for a long time. And the head of the KKK west of the Mississippi, the biggest outfit, was in Medford, Oregon, Southern Oregon. And that's where a famous Supreme Court case was tried. I can't remember the name of it, because Oregon had outlawed Catholics being able to have school. And that case was tried. It was out of Southern Oregon, went to the Supreme Court, and they made it so Catholics can have school. This is like Oregon. So Oregon had a reputation, Southern Oregon anyway, that was so bad. When we would drive to California, you fill up the car with gas in Eugene, and you weren't stopping until you got to Medford. I mean, I'm sorry, until you got to Redding, because you knew you couldn't stop in Southern Oregon. I mean, they had that kind of reputation. So I would bike ride. I'm talking as recently as 10 years ago on country roads, all wonderful people, nothing but wonderful. It's all stereotypical nonsense that's pimped by the media to try to make you think that race relations in this country are horrible. And the only places racial relations are horrible are in blue places.
Yeah. Did you see what's going on in DC? That is it Janine I don't know, Pirro, whatever. Yeah. She so I guess there's all these young people that are coming out at night. They have a term for it. I can't remember what it's called now, but they're coming out at night and they are like ransacking restaurants. They're attacking people. These are like high school aged kids, right? This isn't like some drunken, sadistic fraternity party. Like these are kids that like 10 o'clock is the curfew, right? You're supposed to be at home at, if you're under 18. And it's gotten so bad that they've now, Judge Janine has now said that parents will be fined and imprisoned if their kids are found guilty and parents are found to have known that their kids were going to be going out and doing these kinds of things.
I think there was a term for that. It's called wilding. You remember that term?
Mm-mm.
So back in the mid 80s, there was a famous case in Central Park where these teenagers went on the rampage. This is like the first time I'd ever heard of that. And they killed, I think, a couple of people. This is like the mid 80s in Central Park in New York. But to your point, yes, I think you have to do those kinds of things. Here's the other thing too. If you're a minor and you do certain things, you get tried as an adult. I mean, the human beings respond to incentives, and the incentives and the disincentives, have to be big enough to be painful. So if you go out there, you do some crime on a human being, that's anti-civilizational behavior.
Yeah.
Then you have to get real time, like 10 years kind of time. Like, remember a number of years ago when these fools were going around and opening up ice cream in the grocery stores and then licking the ice cream and then putting the lid back on it? You don't remember that?
Mm-mm.
That's just anti-civilizational. When you do things like, and there's no, you're doing that only to destroy things. So that kind of anti-civilizational behavior needs to be severely punished. People think, oh, it sounds like a small thing. No, that's like a 10-year in prison sentence to me. Yeah, I do agree. I do think that if you stole the ice cream, okay, that's a misdemeanor or a smaller thing. You go in there and do something like that, that's anti-civilizational.
I would
Um,
rather see those
that's
kind
anarchy.
yeah, but I would agree with you on like that trend where people were going around and punching women. You remember that trend that was real
Oh,
popular?
that's the same thing. Yep.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that like I don't care how old you are, you know that that's terrible. And
Mhm.
you know, but I have to disagree with you on the licking the ice cream thing. I think that's crummy. And I think
It,
that you should have to like buy the entire grocery store, you know, supply of ice cream. But you know, like I don't want you in jail. I don't want you, you know, learning the trade craft, you know, of raping and stealing and
well, now we're talking about a kind of a jail. Maybe it's not. I want you off the streets. I want you locked up.
for
Yep.
licking ice cream.
Yep. Absolutely. It is anti. It is anarchy.
How
We
many
can't
times did your mom beat you with that Hot Wheel track?
have enough to know better than to go lick some ice cream. This is similar to the guys who go around and guys and women. I was watching a podcast on this. These guys, well, they know they have herpes, right? And they go out there and have 8 or 10 sexual partners. And then these women and vice versa wind up having this disease the rest of their life. And they find out the first time when they're having their first baby. And now they got all the kind of complications from that, right? So that's anti-civilizational behavior. You
Yeah.
knowingly do that, your butt needs to go up the river for a long time.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on that, but
Now
whatever.
here's
I think parents.
yeah. Here's in betweener though. I'll give you this. I give you this in the in between solution. We could go to the caning solution, and I'm willing to go to that. you,
Wow,
you get 10 years in prison,
oh
or you
my
can
gosh.
get caned, and you make choice. I believe people should have choices. The United States is great. We love that people have choices.
Remember years
You get
ago there
off.
was that case, was it in Thailand where there was that
Yeah,
American and he
that
got to
was
choose like you get
yeah,
this or you get caned. I think it was like 10 years in prison or you get caned, you know? And he was
yeah.
like, I'll do the caning.
And see, most Americans don't know about the caning. What is that? That's killing me. The country. It's Malaysia. It's Malaysia that does that, right?
Okay.
So
Yeesh.
it was, and this was, and when you go there, the laws are strict. If you spit on the sidewalk, right, that's like they don't play that graffiti thing, which is why they don't have any, by the way. So this guy went over there and graffitied up a bunch of stuff, and he got sentenced. I think it was 10 lashes. Now, if you remember, they have a kung fu expert with the bamboo stick soaked in water. They got the whole apparatus set up, and you drop your pants and bend over like 10 lashes. And it's not just regular 10 lashes. By the fourth lash, most people have passed out, right? And then you get like I think it was 60 days in prison where you're just laying on your stomach because you can't move for the first month. So trust me, they don't have any graffiti problems though.
Okay.
So you don't have to do 10 years. They do 10 lashes.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's talk about something happy.
Yeah.
I don't have anything happy on my list. What can I talk about?
Oh, bummer.
I know. I
Let me
know.
see
I
it.
know there's happy stuff
I
going on. Well, I guess one happy thing.
Oh, I got some happy.
Okay, yeah, what?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that I
Yeah, well, as soon as my
just
computer is loading.
the latest
Yeah.
win list of wins. We're looking at about 30 wins yesterday, Republican wins around the country.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's awesome. How about Massey taking a spanking? Wasn't that awesome?
I like Massey.
7-term incumbent.
I like Massey.
Yeah. So well, he needed to go down. And former Navy SEAL won that. So what it is finally these rhinos are paying the price for their positions. Because one of the things I've always thought was Trump was never really a Republican. People forget this. Obviously, he wasn't a Democrat, but he was a Republican. The Republican Party hated his guts, but they had to hold their nose because what else were they going to do? And he had no other place to go because third parties don't do well in this country, right? So basically, traditional, truly conservative people had to hold their nose and vote for Republicans. And we finally got somebody who's going to go in and then primary these people who are pretend Republicans. And we know that we had a ton of them. And it's so great that I can't tell you how thrilled I am to see these people lose these elections. It's the best thing. People are being heard.
Yeah,
Finally.
well, and what I'm excited about, and very like pleasantly surprised by, is there has been, and I have said it on this show even, that
Mhm.
there's this real fear that because Trump's poll numbers are so low, that we're going to start
Mhm.
losing in the midterms, and that his appeal isn't sellable, and so a Trump endorsed candidate, like, you're just not sure you want to even do that, right? Well, this is obviously proving that he still has the star power.
And I think the thing we have to remember, us like conservatives, is you can't believe these polls. I mean, we didn't believe these polls. Remember, he was definitely going to lose. He was definitely going to lose to Kamala. He was definitely going to lose to
Yeah.
Hillary. These polls are useless, and they're all completely biased, and they're all selling a position. They're selling the hope that he will
Yeah.
lose. If you're walking around your general area and look at I just don't think most Americans are that crazy. If you don't cheat them, which is we're seeing a minimization of the cheating thing. If you can't cheat, I think most people look at Oregon. I've never thought Oregonians is that crazy, but the whole thing has been rigged and cheated so bad. And finally, they got enough mud pie in their face. You give them a decent candidate, and they're going to vote
Oh,
for it.
I just thought of something good, and I was sparked because you said decent candidate. So, first of all, Spencer Pratt, running for mayor, is really, really close. I mean, he is like closing the gap to Karen, to Karen Bass. And have you been watching any of his commercials?
I've seen a couple of them. Those are so awesome.
He's doing a great job, and it's all AI, of course, which everybody wants to see, right? So it's hilarious. It's, I mean, he's absolutely getting the job done, and he's making us all laugh while actually highlighting issues. He doesn't have to get in there and sling arrows, because it's just, you're all in for the ride. It's awesome.
And it's common sense. If you have a two brain cells, you can look at what they've done to LA, what the left has done to LA. And he's just talking comments. Here's a guy's own house got burnt down. And have they built a single house yet? Have they rebuilt a single house?
I think one, to be honest with you. I think I actually have built a single house. Yeah.
It is like this, look, let's just look at performance, right? This is one of the reasons why I love sports, because you can't fake it, right? This team got X many yards per carry. This team got X many yards downhill passing. The scoreboard shows that this team turned on the ball too much, right? Nobody's arguing about what your feelings, what you look like, and how good you looked on the campaign trail, and the coach, how he's dressed on the sideline. Hey, we got like stats. We got statistics that predict success. If you do these things, you're likely to be successful. And that's one of the things that makes me laugh about this guy, Gavin Newsom. He never talks about a policy, a strategy that's going to improve things. It's all name calling of the candidate that he's going against. That's not going to get it done. I mean, you got people something to vote for, not something to vote against.
Well, if you want to vote for Karen Bass, here's one of the policies that she's getting behind, Dawn. She wants to give meth heads false teeth. And I mean, it's a real issue. She spent a lot of time explaining it. I mean, it's like these people just can't get ahead because they don't have teeth. And I mean, I get it. I'm sure their dealers feel the same way. Like, I can't even look at you. I don't even want to do business with you.
Well, and here's the thing that's so maddening about that. So the person who does it right, well, I'll get quick, and I know we're getting close to the end, but I think this is a quick ops. So when I was in Long Beach, I had to rent out, we were going to sell our house, couldn't sell it, market was bad, so we decided to rent it. So in those days, you got to add in the LA Times, I got a book on how to do it. We rented our house out. So we interviewed people coming to the house. And so a ton of people coming through were Section 8, right? So the rules with Section 8 were, let's say the rent's $1,000. If you qualified, the government would pay $800, and then the tenant would only pay $200, right? So as a landlord, you're supposed to be, as a tenant tells me, she said, why don't you do Section 8? Because if you do, that way, most of your rent's guaranteed. She's telling me it's like, I kind of
Not
want all
all,
of it
yeah,
to be
exactly.
guaranteed.
Like, do you hear yourself? Yeah,
So you may
yeah,
not pay the
right. Yeah.
200, the government's gonna pay the 800, right? But here's the thing that's maddening about that. So you look at those other neighbors. They scraped and primped and saved and set things aside and busted their can so they could afford that down payment on that 12-foot little house in North Long Beach, right? This person rolls up, hasn't done a thing, and the government gives them a place. And what we forget about is when you are able to acquire like a house, for example, that requires virtue because the virtue is having the discipline to set a goal and then follow it through to be able to acquire that property, right? So these are the reasons why neighborhoods that have homeowners don't look like
Right.
disasters because people have invested their time and energy. This all goes back to so it's the outward manifestation of inward morality is what that is. And when you give people things that they haven't earned, not only is it destructive to them because there's no incentive for them to change their behavior and their lifestyle to acquire these things, but you're also destroying the people who did do those
Mhm.
things. And the same thing is true when you look at people save and scrimp and do all this. A lot of the times they do it not just for the house itself, but because it's in a good
Mhm.
school district. So you move these people in, build Section 8 housing in that neighborhood, and now the very thing those people were looking to escape. And I'm going to be blunt here. People say, "Don, that's racist." I don't care. They don't want their kids going to school sitting next to the kid who's got like single mom and single mom got like 5 baby daddies because they know all that behavior is going to show up in the classroom. That's why they saved to be in that neighborhood to get away from that.
So if you if somebody says, "Oh, Dawn, that's racist,"
Mhm.
that to me that says that the person who is complaining about it has a picture in their mind that is racist. You didn't
I
say
agree.
what race that person was.
No,
You're only talking about behavior. That's all you're talking about.
that's 100% true. You know, the behavior that does that, by the way, is produced across all races
Of
or whatever.
course.
So, but so when you get away from just in basic enforcing basic rules of good conduct, it destroys
Yeah.
everything. And my friend, gone longer than I think we've ever gone, by the way. We're 5 minutes past, I
Oh,
think.
well, we started late, so
Oh,
we have to end late. That's how it goes.
that's a nice excuse.
They're like, "Let's go, let's go. Give
Yeah.
them the hook. Give them the hook."
Get, get the hook. Well, we went long because we enjoyed it so much. I hope you all love it as much too. I see Mr. Lincoln out there says he loves it. Love you too, Mr. Lincoln. Glad you guys stepped in and listened to us. I always enjoy it, Leslie. And any final comments before we close it
Oh my
down?
gosh. Do I have any final comments? No, I don't. But you know what? Actually, I do have a final comment. I can smell the enchiladas being cooked, the fresh enchiladas
Uh-oh.
from the kitchen. So my mouth is watering, and I just want to go. My final thoughts are: I hope everybody has a great dinner tonight because I'm going to have one.
Yeah, I hope it's have a great as dinner as you. I'm thinking about this bottle of whiskey I got in here. I'm about to
I
go
was going to
hit
say
that.
I should put have a toast for the margarita, but yeah. Anyway,
There you go. All right. You guys have a good evening, and we'll see you next wonderful
okie
Wednesday.
dokie. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.